Edumagicians, welcome to the Edumagic Podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fessich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of Edumagic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
Hey y'all, I'm Casey Bell from the Shake Up Learning Show, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, Edumagicians. It's Dr. Sam, and I am back with another episode of the Edumagic Podcast. This one is called Be a Flamingo, Stand Out During Student Teaching or Fieldwork. I mean, this could work for both of them. But before we begin, I have a couple of questions for you. So first, are you student teaching or completing a field placement this fall? If you are, maybe you're wondering, how the heck do I stand out during student teaching? Or how can I make a good impression in my school with my teacher? Well, Edumagicians, this one is for you. We are going to stand out like flamingos in this episode. All right, so I have to first start off by saying that this episode was inspired by the Wildcrats. My daughter absolutely loves this show. She loves to activate her creature powers. So, Edumagicians, we are going to activate our flamingo powers. Are you with me so far? All right. Let's activate. All right, so when you think about flamingo, I have it all spelled out for us. We're going to start with F, find time for you. And if you know my story, you know that this is something that I wish I learned as a future teacher, was carving out time for myself during student teaching as a new teacher. So schedule in time for you. So go into your calendar, go into your agenda. Maybe you have a copy of the Edumagic digital agenda. If you don't, you're going to DM me like right now and I will send you the link for that. And what you can do is you can go in and you can start to schedule in, when are your classes? So do you have practicum during the semester? So write that in. Where is it? When do you meet? What days of the week? Do you have to meet with your college supervisor specific days or times? Schedule in your times when you're at school, like if you're student teaching. So like maybe you have to be there. What's report time? 7:30 a.m. What time do you have to leave? 3:30 p.m. or 4 o'clock? Whatever time that is. And then around that time, I want you to put in some flamingo time. So you can go in, you can actually color code this as pink on your calendar if you so desire, and schedule in time for you. So for example, maybe what are some things you're going to do on the drive home or the drive back to campus from student teaching? Are you going to listen to some good music? Are you going to sit and do some reflection pieces, do some deep breaths before you start your drive home? What are some things you can do before you get into school that day to set yourself up for success? Reflection, affirmations work very well for this. Reflect on the day you had, the previous day, and what are some things you're going to be doing today to help with your mindset, some things like that. Plan in time for some self-love throughout your student teaching experience. So whether that means like having a little like stash of candy, or make sure you double check food policies at your school. Make time for relationships because there is life outside of school, friends. We know that. So make time for relationships, meaning schedule in times for family and friends. I would recommend, maybe you get home from student teaching around 3:30 or 4. Maybe plan to work until 6 o'clock every night, whether that's grading, feedback, lesson planning, reflecting, all those different things. And then from like 6 to 8 or 6 to 9, whatever time you go to bed, hopefully it's early enough time that you get good sleep. That you spend that time reinvesting in yourself, whether it's binging the latest Netflix show or reading a book or, taking a bath or whatever that is to relax and get you ready into your nighttime routine. That's perfect. You might also want to think about, scheduling in events with friends and things like that during that time. So you have time for work and time for friends and time for you. Again, on that, make sure that you make time to eat and sleep. So make sure you're eating in the morning and eating throughout the day. I know there have been times for me where I'd be like, oh my gosh, I worked throughout the day, I forgot to eat lunch. So make sure that you make time to eat and then that you're getting enough sleep. So whatever time you have to be at school, so you have to report at 8 a.m., let's say, for example, and it takes about a half hour to get there. So you want to make sure you leave by 7:15. What time do you have to wake up to get ready and ready to go? Maybe 6:15, maybe 6 o'clock, whatever that is. So make sure you're scheduling in time for sleep and eating so you can take care of yourself as well. L in flamingo is a lesson plan. And now I know we have long lesson plans as an undergrad student. Please know that these are designed to help you think through what it means to actually walk through a lesson, from anticipatory set and delivery, your conclusion, making those connections. So it's important that you complete all those different components of your lesson plan and that you're planning with intention. So you're looking at those standards, you're matching them to those objectives, that you have thoughtful assessments, formative and summative, that you're engaging students in the learning, that you have a planned out anticipatory set, that your closure is not the end, folks. It's actually, tying together all that learning, kind of like sealing the envelope on that learning experience. Differentiating that instruction for your learners, because we know not every student is the same. We have to differentiate our learning, and that we're going beyond the textbook, because one of my colleagues said a textbook was written, when a textbook is written, it's not written just for your students. So your students, what are you going to do beyond that textbook to make that an enriching learning experience for them? And also, friends, we are student teaching or doing some field work, so try some new things out. Give some new things a try, whether that's a new strategy, a method you're learning about in your field courses, or maybe it's an ed tech tool you'd like to try. So definitely try some new things out during your student teaching experience and reflect upon them. Same, kind of along the same line here, appreciate the experience. You are a student teacher, you are practicing. No one expects you to be perfect from day one. So let's learn from this experience. This is the only time, cross your fingers, that you are going to have a certified educator in the room with you that has your back. So take advantage of that situation. Ask the questions. Learn from your cooperating teacher. Learn from the support personnel in that classroom. Learn from your colleagues. Really make this learning experience the best it can be for you. And you can do that by going in and reflecting upon what are your expectations for yourself as a student teacher. What are some things, some goals, some growths that you would like to accomplish during this year? Reflect upon that. Let your cooperating teacher know, hey, here are some things I want to learn about. Here are some things I want to grow in. And the M in flamingo is make a mistake. All right, guys. So I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to make a mistake. Something's not going to go right. And that is okay, because you might make one mistake. You might make 2, 3, or even 10 mistakes, but it's okay because you are still learning. So accept that. Have we accepted it? I hope so, because we're going to move on. We're going to make a mistake. We're going to embrace that with our growth mindset, because when we make mistakes, we learn from them. We reflect upon them. We got this. No one expects us to be perfect. We're going to learn. We're going to grow. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to learn from those mistakes, and we're going to own up to those as well. I in flamingo is intentional relationships. And I know you're probably thinking, of course, Sam, we're going to get to know our students. Absolutely. But remember, getting to know our students is not something that we just do first day or first week. We've talked about this before, right? Building relationships with students is something we get to do all year round, because by building relationships with students helps with our student behavior, helps with our rapport, helps with classroom management, helps with relationships between teacher and student and students and students. It's an all around great thing, guys. And we get to do that every day with our students. So I challenge you, get to know your students every single day you're in the classroom. Even if you're in a short-term field, get to know your students, because it's going to help inform your lessons. This is where you can bring your students in with anticipatory hooks. You can bring your students in with real world experiences, real life problems, and really relate that content to your students so they are interested and they're engaged in that learning. But we're also going to build intentional relationships with the administrators in that building. So whether principal, assistant principal, make sure you email them, introduce yourself. I'm going to link in the show notes to other episodes where we talk about this. Introduce yourself to the administrators, the administrative assistants, and the custodians. other professionals in the building, specialists. Really immerse yourself in this building of intentional relationships, because now you can go and observe different places, different people, different learning environments. It's fantastic. Remember, relationships first, content second. The N in flamingo is never give up, and remember your why. Remember how in EduMagic, a guide for pre-service teachers, I share the why is what's going to keep you fueled. 8 a.m. winter when you're going in for your last final and it's freezing outside, and that why is like your warm cup of coffee or your warm cup of cocoa keeping you fueled. That is exactly what it's going to be doing here during student teaching, during your field work. Stop and reflect on your why. If you need to, pause this episode and jot down, why did you get into education? Why are you excited to enter the classroom each day? Seriously, pause the episode. I'll be here when you come back, but think about it. Why did you get into education? Why do you want to be an educator of excellence? Jot down some ideas. Put that in a place where you're going to see it often. Sometimes you might want to even make it into a Canva document. You can have it as a desktop background on your laptop or as a photo on your phone. So keeping your why in mind and keep it at forefront is so important, because you're going to need that when you have days where you're crying in your car and things are overwhelming and you're wondering, why did I even get into this? Because you're going to have days like that. Focus on your why. But you know what, friends? You're also going to have the flip side of that. You're going to have days where your face hurts from smiling so much. So keep your why front and focused. G in flamingo. It's kind of a little nod to Will Smith and getting jiggy with it from the 90s, but it's called getting techy with it. I would love for you guys to think about brushing up on your ed tech skills. A few that I recommend, they're going to get a lot of bang for your free buck, because remember, we're student teachers. We specialize in free. The tools need to be easy wins for students and for teachers, and they need to go across subject areas and grade level. So the first one is Canva EDU. If you do not have a Canva EDU account, go to the show notes, click on Canva EDU, create the education account. Trust me, your future self will thank you. With Canva EDU, you can create banners, you can create posters, you can create really cool resumes, presentations, educational videos, infographics, interactive work for your student to do, like interactive whiteboard projects. It is so amazing, the awesome stuff you can create as a teacher and also your students can create, because you want to be able to have your students create content as a way for assessment. The next one is teacher made. So when you have a co-op who's giving you all these awesome worksheets and, all these printable things, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then they're like, can you make this digital? And maybe you get a little nervous. You can say confidently with a huge smile on your face, absolutely I can. And you know what? You're going to do it with TeacherMade. It's an app and a site. It's free. Sign up for it. What you can do, take a picture of your PDF or take a picture of the worksheet, upload it as a PDF, or if you have a PDF, just upload the PDF. And you can make that physical worksheet digital. You have drop down, you have matching, multiple choice, short answer, long answer, checkbox responses, so many different ways that you can make that worksheet digital using TeacherMade, and you can share it with Google Classroom or just share the link. Up next is Office Lens. So if you are in a PD or a training and you're getting lots of resources, I don't know about you, but I'm really good at losing paper. So I always take pictures of content with my app called Office Lens, and what it'll do, it'll clean up the picture. So I'll take a picture of a handout, picture of the board, picture of the screen, something like that. Office Lens will clean up the picture, taking away stray marks. I can save it as an image, as a PDF, or as an OCR Word doc. If I save it as an OCR Word doc, so I'm going to pull all that text and pop it right onto a Word doc, which is amazing. And another teacher time saver tip, if you're having to adapt some content on a worksheet, take a picture of it using Office Lens, save it as an OCR Word doc. It'll pull all that text and throw it in a Word doc for you so you can make those changes. And it has Immersive Reader built right in. I can save content right to OneDrive. So Office Lens for the win. Up next, my other tech tool that I highly recommend is Nearpod. You can take those presentations that you have done, or maybe your co-op has given you in PowerPoint or in Google Slides, and add some sprinkles to it using Nearpod. So you can have additional content, like have them go to websites, have them interact with assessment pieces, multiple choice questions, time to climb. They now have a new drag and drop feature, which is amazing. What else do they have? You can do VR field trips in Nearpod. There's so much that you can do with Nearpod. It has a free 30-day account. If you are interested, go on over the show notes and sign up. And then last but not least, you're going to want to store all these awesome learning experiences into a digital portfolio. If you want to learn more about creating a digital portfolio from scratch to interview ready, head on over to my site. You can sign up for the course there. And then the O in flamingo, because oh my gosh, we cannot forget the O, which is observe with a purpose. Meaning those first few days of student teaching in field, you'll probably be doing a lot of observation, right? So make the most of that time. Get to know students, but don't just sit in the back of the room with a blank notebook, because that can be very overwhelming. Be intentional with what you're observing. For example, observe specific procedures: entering the classroom, exiting the classroom. Where do students submit their homework? What do they do if they have to go to the restroom? Go to the nurse. What's the lunch count? How do I do attendance? Where do students find their learning management system pieces? Where do they get the materials? How do they line up? How do they what's their schedule like? Look at the curriculum, look through the curriculum and look at the scope and sequence. What have students learned? What are they going to be learning while I'm here with them? Look through rubrics, look through resources. Be observant with a purpose. You also want to see if you can go in and observe other professionals, because you can learn so much from other specialists, therapists, special education teachers, and that can also help to maybe have you think a little bit about going into a graduate degree. If you're like, oh hey, reading specialist sounds kind of cool, maybe I want to observe that person. So that's kind of cool. So use this time to be appreciative of that learning experience, like we talked up in the A in flamingo. So let's recap. We're going to stand out like flamingos during our student teaching or our field work. F, find time for you. L, lesson plan. A, appreciate the experience. M, make a mistake. I, intentional relationships. N, never give up. Remember your why. G, get techie with it. And O, observe with purpose. All right, if you are enjoying this episode, take a screenshot, tag me over on social. I would love to hear which one you are resonating with, and I would love to see how you are standing out like a flamingo during your student teaching. Until next time, friends, you have the edumagic within you. Bye for now.
And there you have it, edumagicians. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. For more edumagic, check out sfessage.com and follow Dr. Sam on Twitter and Instagram @sfessage. Until next time, you have the edumagic within you.